Championship. This, the V6 race, lining up on the grid now.
And line up they do, because the grid positions for Eurocar, remember, are drawn rather than qualified for, and it's Julian Arnold who selected that inside pole in 69. Rick Lemon on the outside of him, Mike Manning and Andy Pike behind them, and back on row 3, what a combination, Paul Sheard and John Happy, and returnee on the outside there in the 4th row, Steve Dance in number 16. Look at this 5th row, Chris Ayling there, the gap is because of an absent driver, but on row 6, Tony Paxman and Ian Fewings. Ian, who did a couple of rounds in the pickups last year. And as the pace car brings them towards us, look at that 7th row. Peter Folding, 36, and Mark Proctor, 66. Behind them, Shane Bland, the Rookie of the Year in 1997 in 42, and it's Mike Schmidt back with us for 1998. He was an absentee during the latter part of the season, having done the opening 2 rounds, but he's back now in a new car with a new number 5, and here is Julian Arnold there on the inside, bringing them towards us. The pace car pulls in. We watch for the lights to change. We'll see a burst of power from these two on the front row. Watch Mike Manning in the green car there on the 2nd row, try to get the jump on these two, and Andy Pike in for a baptism of fire. We start on the flag and away we go for 20 laps of the Mallory Mile Oval, and Andy Pike gets pushed out wide, almost lost it there. That's James Hurt Lang in 55, and a stunning start as Tony Paxman rolls to the outside, running slow there. Stunning start by Peter Folding. That's the black car, about 5 rows back now, trying to jockey around. He moves to the outside, but it's Rick Lemon who'll get the drop as they come through turn 3. Good progress made by John Haffey. Another did European Rallycross last year, but David, this got off to a flying start on opening lap.
Absolutely. The trademark of Eurocars, of course, is bumper-to-bumper racing. Some people call it door handling, other people just call it aggressive statements. Now this bend, a bit of a lump in here. You can see the cars just bucking away, and he's trying to push around the outside. Number 18 trying to push. Is he going to get it? Is he going to get it, Paul?
Well, Paul Sheard, that is, who was very much a force to be reckoned with in the championship last year. Tremendous driver, very, very skillful indeed. But at the moment, it's that red car, the NSPCC back car of Rick Lemon, who takes it on. Here is Paul Sheard on the outside of Steve Dance. These two at it hammer and tongs. You'll see lots of this in Eurocar, side by side. Transportation is what it's all about. And there's Mike Schmidt. Well, not a very happy return for Mike Schmidt as he returns into the pit lane, because it's not to be. The white flag there indicating there's a slow car on the track, but Mike Manning now challenges for the lead. Rick Lemon's left the door wide open. The man from Carmarthen, Mike Manning, real force in the Eurocar series, and these two starting to get a little bit of a breakaway as we watch them come onto the back stretch. And a spinner is Warren Salter. There he is, spinning out, but he's going to rejoin, but albeit right at the back of the field. Steve Dance there in 16 is 3rd, and tucked in behind him there's John Haffey in 4th, but Mark Proctor from the outside of the 7th row of the grid has made an absolutely storming start. He's already up now into something like 5th place and challenging Steve Dance for that position, but up at the head, Rick Lemon leads Mike Manning for the moment.
Mike Manning and Rick Lemon, yes, pulling out a bit of a lead there. Sheard still trying to go around the outside of everybody. He takes those risks, doesn't he? How far can he push it on the outside of that track?
Long way round there, but he'll try and find a way, David. He's worked hard at this track. Remember, we've got 4 rounds of the Eurocar Championship at Mallory Park this year. This the opening round of a 12-round series, and of course 2 races minimum at each of these events. This is the first of our events as Paul Sheard finally decides that the inside line is probably a better way round, so he jumps to the inside and says thank you very much, and picks up that position. And talking about jumping to the inside, Rick Lemon again still not able to let Mike Manning go through, but I think he's overcooked it this time at the hump at turn 1. He has, and so a new race leader here on lap 5 of our 20-lap race as Mike Manning sweeps through into the lead. And what a glorious sight they make on the way down the backstretch. Look to the Arco back car there on the inside, and he's through his Mark Proctor. Peter Folding puts the wheel on the inside. Oh, disaster for Folding. Manages to gather it all up back together and puts it to the inside of the track, but that's dropped him way down the field. And as they cross the line for this completion of the lap 5, Folding's going to find himself way down in 10th place, and that's going to be a real struggle for him to get back on terms. But at the moment, Mark Proctor is really doing the stuff. There's Ian Fewings. He's another who's made good progress. Started from the inside of the 6th row of the grid, did Ian Fewings. And already, David, he's up into, what, 6th position, but Mike Manning leads.
And Mike Manning is pulling out quite a substantial lead now. As you can see, there's Paul Sheard. He's pulling up He's pulling up the order. He really is going for it this time round. But Mike Manning is still out ahead.
And there's a new second place man. He got through at turn 3, past Rick Lemon. I think, David, that Rick Lemon's developed something of a problem there. He's dropping back just slightly, and at the moment he's going to be caught by this battle going on behind. Paul Sheard in 18, Stevie Dance in 16, but Dance runs it wide this time. And it's Fewings who dives to the inside and says, thank you very much. That was a very kind invitation.
Yes, Mike Manning definitely pulling away, definitely pulling away. I think Rick Lemon has got a problem. He's going to be caught by Paul Sheard any second. He might dive up the inside of this corner. No, not quite close enough. Maybe coming into the back straight.
And there's Shane Bland, the Rookie of the Year, 42. His car this year being prepared by Mark Willis. He was in the Kevin Clark Motorsport team last year, but one of those many drivers who've made a move around, hoping to clinch the championship. He's one of those talked about as very much a real prospect for V6 honours, but another of those who is likewise is this man here. Well, not that man, the man in front of him. Ian Fewings, of course, who did a few events, as we were saying earlier, in the pickups, but really has got on song with this, and this very much a surprise, but a pleasant one at that, to see Fewings running so well. He's up to 4th. Let's count the order through for you, as there is 4th placed Fewings, Rick Lemon, as we see. Well, no sign there, David, of any evidence of a problem.
No, it doesn't seem to be, but he's dropping back. He's dropped back 2 or 3, and the titanic battle going into the back corner.
This the recovering Peter Faulding, of course, trying to get round the outside of Chris Ayling. Pete Faulding, who is still in that 10th place. He'll try and make the move on Ayling this time, but at the top of the order, tremendous scrap going on with Mike Manning now having been caught by Mark Proctor. Proctor, coincidentally, won the opening race of the season last year, and it could well be that he's going to repeat that feat. That would be something of a tall order if you'd have predicted it before the race, but here he is, right in the wheel tracks. You note here, good example of the two different shapes for Eurocar this year. Mike Manning there in the old livery, or the old shape car, but you can see very clear shots there from our camera guys of putting out the new shape, and there's another in the new shape, Shane Bland, going through, and here is Proctor to the inside this time. He's going to get it as they go through turn 1. Manning jumps into the air, but it's not a jump hard or high enough because he's dropped back to 2nd place, and he's now going to start to look in his mirrors because Paul Sheard and Ian Fewings right there behind him. These 4 in a breakaway on the backstretch, but it's a new leader, Mark Proctor. Mike Manning there in the green car, 23. That's Paul Sheard, and behind him, Ian Fewings. Here is our leader, off turn 4, and that's Gerrards, the long sweeping, what is for Eurocar, left-hander. They go continually round 180 degrees, and, well, a little bit too far out there was Ian Fewings, just taking a little bit of agricultural motoring, but battles all the way through the field. And there is Pete Faulding, who now has made good progress through the last couple of laps. And there's another one making great progress, David. Mark Proctor, our leader.
Yes, Mark Proctor. I had a feeling, actually, Paul, that Mark Proctor was being held up by Mike Manning. He's now got past him, and of course Mike Manning has now got Paul Sheard right on his tail. Well, he seems to have made a bit of a pace recovery, but I still think that Sheard may be coming forward one more place at least.
Yeah, well, let's keep an eye for that, because Ian Fewings at the moment is a man on a mission, isn't he? He's right in the wheel tracks there of Paul Sheard. Here they come, cross the line again. Still Manning there in 2nd. Good shot of the 4 of them, and Proctor just leaving a little bit wide. I think that caught Mike Manning by surprise. He almost got it sideways there over the hump at turn 1, and that allowed Paul Sheard to get in the wheel tracks that are about to come up against a slower running car. That's one of the newcomers to the series, Phil Woodhull, and there's 6 new drivers in the V6 series in 1998. Phil Woodhull, one of them. That there is Mike Manning fighting it out, trying desperately to hang on to this 2nd place. And of course all of this, David, allowing the man there just flashing through our picture in the number 66 blue and orange car of the Arco colours. That's Mark Proctor, but here we go. Sheard to the outside. Is he going to leave the door open for Fewings behind him? He's got that classic dilemma. He has left the door open for Fewings behind him. Fewings will surely take that place. Sheard tries to fight back on the outside, but it's not to be on this occasion anyway. And there is Ian Kirk, a man who moved up from the Little Legends series last year, and he's out there in the V6. Mark Loveland, Julian Gale, and or rather Julian Arnold, I should say. But here we are back at the head of the field, and Mike Manning hanging on for grim life at the head of this 3-car battle for 2nd place. Ian Fewings is really a revelation here. He was very quick in his early days in V6s. He did do V6s in 1995, a couple of races in 96, but last year, as we said before, pickup man, pretty much so. A new number for him this year, and perhaps it's lucky number 3 for him, David.
Well, I think that Sheard has taken back his place. He's gone up the inside. In fact, he's done what Ian Fewings did to him. He took it up the inside on turn 1, and here it is. Yes, he has. He's gone back, just nudging ahead on turn 4. Is he going to keep? He keeps the hammer down. He's going to stay ahead. But that's just allowed Mike Manning to pull out a little bit of breathing space on them. But up front, as you can see, the leader is romping away that battle behind, allowing him to just get clean away, Paul.
Absolutely tremendous performance this by Mark Proctor. He was saying to me in the close season that he really felt he had a good tilt at the title. He was very assertive in his driving style last year, and that certainly is starting to pay off now as he opens up that 4 or 5 car advantage. But look at the 4 behind that second place battle, and who's amongst them? It's that black car of Peter Folding. Tremendous recovery by Folding. There's Steve Dance in 16. Remember, Folding just as fewer laps ago as lap 5 was down in 11th and 10th position. He's gradually clawed his way back now to be 6th as they cross the line. There's Proctor going through. Mike Manning followed by Paul Sheard, then Ian Fewings as we pick up Manning through turn 1. This is the battle for second place, remember. Mike Manning and Paul Sheard and Ian Fewings having swapped those places. If you want a feast of overtaking, then I'll tell you Eurocar is the place to find it, and we're getting a real treat in store for us there as Manning leaves the door open, takes that wider line in, and for a moment looked as though Paul Sheard might get the opportunity to jump up the inside. Didn't do it on this occasion, just holds that position. And this 3-car train with the sun glinting off the windscreens. Great spectacle here at Mallory.
And a remarkable recovery by Peter Folding, though. Look, he's actually up to 5th. He's taking the wide line. I think he's going to try and go wide round them. He's so close now. This titanic battle in the positions 2, 3 and 4, you can see he's allowed Peter Folding to come right up behind them, Paul.
Has indeed. 5th place Folding. Tremendous drive by him. He's former world Formula 1 stock car champion, multiple Formula 1 world stock car champion, and of course the ovals. Folding, incidentally, never ever won a race here at Mallory Park despite his prowess on the ovals, and well, he's certainly looking to try and right that one this year, and he might just do it in this race as Fewings gets very close to the barrier there. There's a barrier just a matter of inches away from the exit, and here is Folding on the outside of Fewings. Might just jump it through there. It's a long way around the outside, but again, it's one of those things that you'll see nowhere else. It's drivers going around the outside, especially through here, turns 1 and 2. Now, somebody's had an off there. Look at that muck on the track, and that looks like somebody's been in serious trouble.
Looks like somebody's been grass cutting to me.
It's Chris Ayling. Just saw him flash through in the background there. Chris Ayling then off on the backstretch. I wonder if he's just caught a patch of oil or perhaps had a problem out there. We'll try and identify what that is for you, but here is Folding, the man on a mission, as they cross the line again. Still Manning there, second in the green car. Here is Folding again, trying it to the outside. Shane Bland, incidentally, and Stevie Dance catching up behind them, so we've got to keep an eye in the mirrors as the titanic struggle going on. Still Fewings this time to the inside of Sheard. Looks like somebody's driven a tractor through there, doesn't it, on the backstretch?
Absolutely. Mike Manning is just swinging that car in and out of bends. The back end is breaking away as he tries desperately to stay away. Paul Sheard still riding his tail. And Peter Folding, I think he's behind. He's dropped back a little bit. No, there he is. There he is.
And they're 3 abreast as they come off Gerrards. Tremendous excitement. Here's Mark Proctor. If he was looking in his mirror there was a tremendous view of what was going on, but I'm sure he's delighted as we've got now a 4, make it 5, 6 car battle for second place of Folding through. Mike Manning left the door wide open and invited him in. He might as well have had an easy chair there and a cup of tea ready for him. It was wide open. Folding not one to miss an opportunity, and Sheard, look at him though, he's dropped back as a result of that into 5th position now.
Yes, Ian Fewings saw the gap, he snuck up the inside, and of course Peter Folding thought, right, I'm having some of that, went straight up the inside with him, and that put all the others. Oh, look at Peter Folding!
Absolutely on it, but there's the checkered flag for race winner, and Mark Proctor makes it 2 wins from 2 starts in the series. In other words, he won the opening round in 1997, he wins this round here. Tremendous performance, but what a drive there by Peter Folding, up to 3rd when he was down in 11th position. There's confirmation, the points as well. Proctor picks up 200. Fewings that 175 in 2nd, Folding there 3rd. Remember, to get the overall winner on the day, we add the points together that are scored, and the man with the most points on the day from the 2 races, they all race in 2 races, is the winner on the day. But a stunning performance there by all those V6 guys, David.
Yes, absolutely fantastic. Join us after the break for the pickups here on World Motorsports. Mallory Park, we're here for the opening round of the Eurocar Series. This, the 2-litre pickup truck racing, first race of the day for them. And these cars running 2-litre stock engines. all Vauxhall double overhead cam engines, hard compound tyres. These cars can get very slippery out there, can't they, Paul?
They'll get very sideways, I'll tell you, David, especially coming out of turn 4. We'll watch for that. But this is the second year for the amazing pickups, and they really are amazing in every sense of the word. We've got 6 new drivers to the series this year. They all start from the rear of the grid. That's to make sure that they don't have a baptism of fire. But I'll tell you what, we are in for some fireworks. There's the front row, the pace car bringing them round. Stuart Bradburn at the wheel as ever, and with Des Stainer on pole position in number 31, and the only lady racer in the series out there in number 29, Gillian Philp in the Hewlett-Packard colours, and she gets them on the way, and Des Stainer gets the power down, and they hair off. Remember, going the opposite way around Mallory Park, what is the traditional way around the Mallory Mile. And it's Des Stainer who gets the break on them. Look, though, we're behind because Dave Briggs in number 2 making good progress as well. We've got the V8 champion Mike Jordan out there as well. He's in the number 77 Speedfit truck. And there's somebody really swimming wide there. That's Alan Fisher's got it all out of shape. And who's that behind him to collect? Oh, there's contact there. That's Mike Jordan. Tremendous disappointment that will be for Jordan on the opening lap of this series. Jordan is in the wars, and that looks to be the end of his race, at least for the time being. And Andy Donut Stewart there in number 19. He's made a fantastic start already, would you believe it? He started way back on the 7th row of the grid, and he's up to 3rd in 1 lap. That's some serious overtaking. Often the bridesmaid and seldom the bride. He's never won a race. There'll be yellow flags there, so they'll all hopefully keep their position. But you can see Mike Jordan's number 77 truck there, sideline, David. Not a happy day for him.
Oh no, he won't be happy about that. Mr. Ultra competitive Mike Jordan taken out by the end of the very first lap. He will not be happy with that at all, Paul.
No, he won't. And we'd look across the Mallory Lake. Had a car in there last year, of course. Paul Eaton went for a swim in there, but here's a challenge for the lead. Des Stainer in 31, the black truck. There's Ali Lane in the middle in the silver truck, but Donut Stewart sweeps through and takes the lead. Does he? No, he doesn't, in fact. Sustainer fights back. And here is Jeff Simpson making good progress. Jeff was the winningest driver in the series last year, notching up a double figure of victories as they come into turn 3. Des Stainer leads it. Andy Donut Stewart there in the number 19 truck. And can Donut get through? Ali Lane in 28. There's Dave Briggs fighting off the challenge of number 3, Jeff Simpson, as they go underneath the bridge and emerge the other side. Let's see who is first into our sight. And it is Andy Stewart. He's got through. Where has Des Stainer gone? Well, Des Stainer obviously dropping back through the field there. Donut Stewart sneaking through in, and he's pulled the whole field with him. There is, in fact, Alistair Lane, and in 3rd place is Des Stainer as they come onto the backstretch. A whole pack, a gaggle of pickups down the backstretch. Still those yellow flags flying. And Jeff Simpson just getting through on the inside, I think, there, as Alistair Lane fights for that lead position. Stainer's got to watch he doesn't get pushed on the grass there, David. Not much room at all.
Absolutely. It's now Andy Stewart's job and Alistair Lane's job to get as far ahead as possible, get out of that trouble. But it doesn't look like they're pulling out any sort of significant lead. Number 3 car there. They're getting very, very close again. I'm not going to say there's not going to be a little contact here as they come round. Nope, just a bit too far back, Paul.
Yeah, well, there's not supposed to be any contact, but inevitably when they're racing this close to each other, they will nudge and bore each other. But here's the leading quartet, led by number 19, Andy Stewart. There's Alistair Lane, the rest of the pack streaming through. Graham White in that newly liveried number 13 truck. Graham having a good series last year, and he'll be looking to improve on his positions. Certainly scored a few good, solid top 6. And here, talking about the top of the event, great run going on there. Look at that 4th place man, Tony Proctor, in his new livery for 1998. That's the number 66 truck at the back of that quartet. But at the moment, Alistair Lane's doing a brilliant job to hold off Jeff Simpson.
Absolutely. He's doing a bit of a Mike Sheard. He's going around the outside all the time. I think he's going to go for it on turn 3 as well. He is. Oh, it's a long, long way round. He's not going to do it. He's not going to do it.
He's going to lose that 2nd place, though, David, because he's going to be wide out there, and Simpson will get to the inside. A classic pickup truck manoeuvre here at Mallory Park, and he fell for it hook, line and sinker, because Simpson, the class act here in the pickup trucks, of that there's no doubt. Take nothing away, though, from Ali Lane. He's really on the pace this year. And Alistair, again, another who didn't win a race last year, but I'm sure during the course of 98 he'll put that right. But again, these 4 getting away from us. But Graham White in that yellow truck is making good, steady progress up through the field as well. The yellow flags having been withdrawn off the back straight, and he goes through, does Graham White. Said he was making good progress. He picks up another place. and Alistair Lane is still side by side, hanging on for that second place.
Absolutely, there seem to be two distinct racing lines around here. One on the inside where Simpson's going, one around the outside where Alistair Lane's going.
And talk about the outside, that was Jeff Simpson having a sneaky look round the outside there. New third place man is Tony Proctor. He's jumped ahead as we see them through. He's jumped ahead of Alistair Lane, but Alistair Lane round the outside tries to take that place back, and it really is like shuffling a deck of cards here with these pickups. Down the backstretch, Andy Stewart leads. Could this be the chance for him to take that first ever victory? He and Jeff Simpson starting right from the back of the grid of the experienced drivers. That's number 50, John Engledow in the STP machine, and he's done well as well to get back onto the leading track. We've got about 7 cars now, David. I think we're going to make up this lead pack if we're not too careful, but here's the very front of that particular group, led still by Andy Donut Stewart.
Yep, Ali Lane seems to have decided he wants to take the inside line after all, because he's seen John Engledow coming up behind him, and perhaps he's thought, I'll follow everybody else and make sure I don't lose any more places. So Engledow moves to the outside and decides to go around that way.
Great shot there down the backstretch. See them streaming through a whole train of cars, and Alistair Lane has let it run out wide. He's got to lose that run out of track if he's not careful, and that will allow John Engledow to get to the inside, I suspect, as we'll watch them come back into our view, because Engledow had a great line there, David, as he came out of turn 4.
Absolutely, but this titanic battle, they're all scrapping with each other, means that Graham White has caught up and tacked on the back, and I wouldn't be surprised if he just hangs in there. He's looking very, very close, and then he'll sneak up the inside at every turn he can.
Yeah, one of the newcomers there. This is going to be a 7-car train the way it's going up, or a 7-truck chain, we should say. And the two side by side, these two men, the battles they had in 1998, as Donut let it go. Oh, it'll be tremendous disappointment to him if he doesn't win this race. One of the most cheerful characters in pickup truck racing, and he's lost out to that man. Simpson's done it again. Jeff Simpson, the one of only a handful of drivers who've driven all of the Eurocar product. He drove in V6s in the early years. He had a brief spell of 6 months or so in the mighty V8s, more of which we'll see later on in World Motorsports in this series. But we've got Simpson at the moment in his truck and looking like the happy trucker that he is.
And if you wanted close racing, this is the programme to be watching, because this is the Eurocar pickups, and just look how close this battle is as we wait for them to come into turn 1. And he's pulled out a substantial lead now as Jeff Simpson. He seems to be romping away while the others tussle behind each other, Paul.
Yeah, but they'll reel him back in. Simpson, a great driver, knows the lines around here, but this 7-car train has a problem for Michael Smith. He's off to the inside. That's the inside of turn 3 and 4. So a couple of drivers having problems, but here's this leading group. Yellow flags will be waved, the brake lights come on, they all shuffle into order, and that order sees Jeff Simpson leading Andy Stewart. There is Simpson, Andy Stewart behind him in 19. Tony Proctor still hanging on to that 3rd place. Here's a couple of the newcomers as we try and identify them. Here's the leaders, Jeff Simpson and Andy Donut Stewart. See, oh, and there's a problem for Ali Lane. Well held, my son.
Well, it's fantastically gathered in. And John Engledow, he's going a bit of grass cutting. I think he's just pushed it a bit too far. Might have been a little bit of contact. He might have been avoiding Ali Lane there.
Yeah, I think it was the latter, David. I think he just jumped out of the way of a spinning Ali Lane, but great recovery there by Alistair Lane. And Engledow back there in the order as they cross the line again.
Dave Longhurst as well, sneaking up behind the lead group, I see there.
Yeah, Dave Longhurst, a newcomer to the series the middle of last year, and I'll tell you what, Dave Longhurst will win some races this year. Made his debut at Mallory in the summer of 1997, and he's really come on a treat during the recent races, the last end of 1997. But there's still this great scrap going on between Jeff Simpson in the lead car, car number 3, behind him Andy Donut Stewart in 19. And I'll tell you what, this race is not yet Simpson's, and he's still got a real handful with Andy Stewart behind him. Tony Proctor there in 3rd place, just a little bit off the pace of those leading cars or trucks. And Simpson again back into our view as they come around. Gerrards and Andy Stewart trying to get that line. That yellow car that you mentioned before, David, of Graham White, making good progress too.
Yes, they seem to have dropped back a weeny bit from the lead group, which is good, of course, for Simpson and Stewart, because they don't have to contend with anybody behind them. But as we look back down the field a bit there, they're picking their way through traffic. This is going to be a big problem. You can never tell what's going to happen. These cars do move around a lot, and if you're fighting such a close scrap at the front, any little mistake from somebody, you can see the novices crosses on the back there, any mistake from any novices, and you could be off.
That's right, the novices have to get those signatures from the clerk of the course to make sure they've behaved themselves and not been to the naughty boys room, and I'm sure many of them will collect signatures today. They're acquitting themselves very well. A couple of the back markers, the newcomers there to the series, and we saw this last year when newcomers came into the series. It takes just a few races to get on the pace, but believe you me, they soon find out what it's all about in pickup truck racing. And here are our leading trucks. Jeff Simpson in the 3 truck, with behind him 19 still Andy Stewart. These two have negotiated Mallory Park, continuing on this basis for the last few laps, and Donut still can't find a way through. He's tried left, he's tried right. Simpson's protected the line, he's tried to get through in traffic, and there's not been an opportunity in there. Another back marker there, another one of the newcomers, Ben Padfield there in 24, and he's the man who they now have to pass as they come onto the backstretch.
Yes, if you look across the side, you'll maybe catch sight of the marshals. The blue flag out, that means that leading cars or faster cars are approaching you, and that's what the novices have got to look out for, because these two are really going for it.
And Andy Stewart tried there, he got on the pace, tried to find a quicker line through turn 1, it wasn't quite to be, or should I say through turn 4, and this time Simpson just stretches that lead momentarily, but almost as you can see by the time they come out of Gerrards, Simpson has been caught again by Donut, and there is Ben Padfield. They've still got to find a way past him. Simpson sneaks through, so he's through safely. He'll be pleased about that, but of course still slower cars or trucks ahead of him, and Andy Stewart desperately trying to secure that first ever victory for him in a pickup truck. As we said before, he's had many second places, and perhaps today, well, one slip from Simpson and that could present him with that coveted first race victory. There's one of the new trucks in the middle of that pair. That's Steve Dudman, number 8.
Yeah, well, Jeff Simpson's managed to get past already, and Andy Stewart has now. He'd be pleased about that. There's always a little flutter in the heart when you come up behind some novice driver or somebody who's much slower. Are they going to see you? Aren't they going to see you? This is going to be difficult. They're going into the turn. They're going into the turn, and Simpson's got through, and very kindly the other driver, slower drivers, moved out the way and let Andy Stewart come past.
Some very sensible driving going on here by these newcomers to the series. They all have a tremendous racing pedigree. Many have been competing on the hot rod ovals in hot rods or stock cars, and that of course the background in which Jeff Simpson came from, a former world champion, and he's putting all that experience and expertise to great use here on the Mallory Mile Oval. Down onto the backstretch they come again. Simpson still harried and harassed by Andy Stewart behind him, and you've got to say, David, that Andy Stewart has had tremendous concentration to keep so close to Simpson right the way through that traffic. And there is the checkered flag. Oh, it's not to be for Andy Stewart, but it is to be, very much so, for Jeff Simpson, who takes the first pickup truck victory of 1998. There's Gillian Philp going through, and she will finish down in 9th place overall, but the race order confirmed.
Jeff Simpson takes 200 points, Andy Stewart second, gets 175. Tony Proctor kept in there. Graham White moved up to 4th, gets himself 140, and Dave Longhurst 130. Alistair Lane just slipping down the order there. Welcome back to Mallory Park for the first round of the Eurocar Championships. This the second of the V6 races, and they're coming up to take the flag. Of course, they're in reverse order this time, aren't they, Paul?
They are indeed, and this is a dramatic start, falling to the outside. Great start by him. Oh, and there's contact there. Oh, Sheard and Manning renewing their battle in really aggressive style there. Thankfully, both of them managing to go up the escape road. Meantime, on the backstretch and heading up to turn 3, it's Cliff Butler who's jumped out into the lead. Paul Sheard lost his door there, I think. Yes, he did. And he's going to rejoin, so a little bit of extra air conditioning for him. But look at these two. Mark Proctor in 66, behind there is Mark Loveland, and with Peter Folding also having made a tremendous start. Those two, with this reverse grid format that is so familiar to Eurocars, they started from the 3rd row, and that's going to help them, but both of them have got a lot of work to do if they're going to catch Cliff Butler, who's up ahead of them. And there's Mark Loveland in his newly sponsored car, the number 10 car, getting pushed out of the way, and in the background there he is, a repeat of that. Stevie Dance hammered off into the tyre wall. That's Mike Schmidt in the 5 car, who's languishing in the middle of the track. Now that may well bring out the yellows. We'll just see a lot of debris on the track there, David.
Oh, I think there's going to be an awful lot of debris. I wouldn't be fancying racing around there. I think it's all going to slow down now. It's going to come together under a yellow. Yes, the yellow's out. The yellow is out, and they're going to be pulling back the cars off the track and getting that a bit cleaner. Of course, it's already a bit dusty because of Sheard and Manning's trips up the escape road, or what is actually the exit to the Hairpin, which becomes an escape road on this track. And there'll be a lot of debris on the track. You can see debris already from the previous pickup race.
That's right, and in fact there's Ian Fewings off on the left-hand side as well, so he must have been caught up. Now the black and quarters, it acts very much in the same way that a yellow flag does in NASCAR. That means the drivers line up, line astern. The man at the head of the field is given the responsibility, and that man at the head of the field being Cliff Butler, he's got the responsibility of driving around at about 50 miles an hour. That's the guide speed. They don't have speedos in these cars, but they get a feel for what 50 miles an hour feels like. There is Mark Loveland. Now, he was the man pushed out to the side, not suggesting for 1 minute that he was involved in that, but certainly he was to the outside. But a great start there by the winner of our opening race here in the 1998 season, Mark Proctor, in number 66. There he is with Peter Faulding behind him. Now the flag's about to be withdrawn, I suspect, so we may well get back racing. They're just using this as the opportunity, and unlike other forms of motorsport where you'll see a red flag thrown, that's not the case in Eurocar. If the clerk of the course deems that it's safe enough for the marshals to work and get that cleared up, it does help, of course, with all the drivers being familiar with that format. And Cliff Butler doing a great job at the head of the field, the man from Wallasey.
Yes, he's doing a good job of keeping the field at a good, sensible pace. But I have to say, he's going to have a little bit of butterflies there, thinking, oh my God, Mark Proctor is going to be able to close up right on me, because he got a bit of a flyer of a start, did Cliff Butler. He was well away. He had a good lead over Proctor, and now Proctor can close up behind him. And if, when the flags go green, he can get the jump, we know Mark Proctor is quick enough to take the lead.
Yeah, let's watch for the flags having been withdrawn and for that burst of power to come in. It's not going to be this time. They'll do another lap under the yellow, so still that clearing up going on the way. It gives us a chance to just look at the order as they go through. Cliff Butler, another one who came into Eurocar from the hot rod scene. Behind him, Mark Proctor, a former rally crosser. Peter Faulding, we've already talked about having been in Formula One stock cars. And it just shows the variety of motorsport backgrounds that all of these drivers come from. Alistair Lane, who we saw in the trucks before, a former Formula Forza. There's Warren Salter. He's a newcomer to the series in 1998, and what a baptism it is for him. Well, you can see all the debris on the track there. They're going to trailer away those errant vehicles, one of whom, sadly for us, is Ian Fewings, who had such a great drive in that number 3 car in the first race.
They had a fantastic drive in the first race, and it's vitally important they do actually clear up all this mess before they start racing again. There's pretty hard compounds on these tyres, and even a bit of damp grass on the inside line of a corner can make you spin out wide and take 2 or 3 cars out at once.
Absolutely, especially the way these guys go. They'll use all of the circuit and a little bit more if they're given the opportunity. We saw that early on. There's Shane Bland in the number 42 car. That's Mark Loveland. Mark, who was one of the very first people into the series in 1994. This is the 1998 season, of course. My goodness, he did give that a bit of a bang, didn't he? There is Steve Dancy. Steve, who missed the season last year, and we talked to him earlier on today, and he said how he had missed the series, but they're talking of him now as very much a championship, well, they were before that anyway, a championship pretender to the throne. But who is going to be there this year? Well, there's a lot of names in the bag. Mark Proctor and Peter Faulding are 2 that have been talked about. Shane Bland is another in the 42 car. He's the young rookie, just 18 years of age. And they all make their way through. I think what's going to be interesting this year, David, is the battle that we'll see for that rookie championship, because it's a very coveted title. Mark Proctor won that in 1996. He's come through. Another who we'll see when we get to look at the V8s later on in the series of World Motorsports is Mark Willis, who of course was runner-up in the V6 series last year. Stevie Hodgson, another one who's moved up into the mighty V8s, having claimed the crown last year. So it's really created a lot of space for those new drivers to come through.
Well, it's very much a coming series. You know, back in '94, people were thinking, what is this Eurocar? And now rookies from all over motorsport disciplines are coming in looking. It's very, very close racing. They're going to enjoy it. It's going to... But oh, Ian Fewings. Oh, poor old Ian Fewings, who had such a good race. He's just crawling through the tyre barrier there. I think that's the end of his day, Paul.
Yeah, back into the paddock through the rear entrance. Still those quartered yellow and black flags. Cliff Butler still bringing the train through. Now, the first 3 laps under Eurocar yellows on this basis don't count, so this will be the first of those that does count. The first 3 laps giving chance for race fans and for ourselves to enjoy really 20 full laps of racing rather than seeing it reduced down to 17. So that's good news for us. We don't lose any laps on this basis. Some nice new liveries this year. There's the Crocodile led down the backstretch, dead straight here at Mallory. Of course, those of you who've been to Mallory will perhaps be confused by the fact that the drivers go anti-clockwise around Mallory Park for Eurocar, both the V6s and the V8s. The driver on the inside in Eurocar at its spiritual home. A biting wind here today at Mallory, but it's very much a clear, sunny day so far anyway, for which we're particularly thankful, I have to say.
Yes, for any of you who have ever driven around Mallory Park as I have, you'll know it looks fairly flat, but it's quite bumpy, and this is the real bumpy turn, and they're under greens, and away they go over the hump.
Yeah, those 2.9-litre Ford engines bursting in their power. They'll be kicking out 235 brake horsepower as they try to make their way around. There's Mike Doble, one of the newcomers. That's the old David Oates cars that Mike has acquired for this season. And look at this battle for second place. It's those two again. It's Mark Proctor on the inside, protecting that line from Peter Folding. Folding is really going for it today, and don't rule out Shane Bland, who's tucked in there behind in that light blue coloured car. But that, the Booth Metals car of Peter Folding, number 36, his traditional number. And maybe those two squabbling away there, David, will give Cliff Butler the chance to just ease away, although that will see how that develops. Great scrap going on as well in the pack. There's Mark Loveland, Tony Paxman to the inside of him, but it's the leader as they come onto the backstretch, Cliff Butler.
Cliff Butler got a great start. He managed to pull away into turn one, and now over a lap later he seems to be holding that lead. That's good. I think you're right, Paul. That scrap behind is going to allow Cliff Butler to get away a bit. Yes, Cliff Butler's going to really want to put the hammer down now so he can pull away, and the top four are actually pulling away from the rest.
Well, we'll see how that develops, David, because I'm sure that they'll bring themselves back, but at the moment we'll focus on this battle for second place. And there's a puff of smoke. Cliff Butler missed his braking point there, gave himself a small scare, I'm sure, to say the very least, because he was very late on the brakes there, and that might just give Mark Proctor the incentive. Of course, it's a greater opportunity to try and catch the man in front. Look at that battle for fifth place behind them as well. They're really going at it. But there are the second and third place men. Proctor in 66. In the 36 car, it's Peter Folding, Shane Bland. Well, we're trying to get on terms, but there's nothing at all between these two. You can cover them with the proverbial handkerchief as they cross the line to complete yet another lap. Butler still leads it from Proctor second, Folding there in third, and there is Shane Bland. Bit of a gap back then to fifth place. Tony Paxman in the 57 car trying to get John Happy from behind him, and fights all the way down through this Eurocar V6 field. But the most enthralling of all being this one for second place. Folding's going to try the wide, high and handsome line around the outside, but decides that discretion is very much the better part of valour and slips back in the slipstream. The drivers were telling us today from familiarisation that they can really do some drafting down the backstretch here. The wind conditions at Mallory making it very advantageous to get right in the wheel tracks of the man ahead of you, and you can gain an advantage. They can feel themselves being sucked up into the airflow and propelled forward. There is this battle for fifth, but that's the leader. Cliff Butler leads them through again onto the backstretch. No change in the race order for these four, and if it stays as it is at the moment, then Mark Proctor will be declared the overall winner on the day, because he will have massed 375 points. Remember, he scored 200 for that first race victory, and if he stays in second place, he'll get another 175 added to that. So we'll watch that particular enthralling battle. Peter Folding, though, will know that, bearing in mind his first race position, he needs to get through and finish ahead of Proctor.
And he has. He's moved ahead. He's moved ahead of Proctor around the outside. I was just about to say, Paul, you was talking about staying in the same order. I wouldn't count on it. Peter Folding wouldn't like that at all. And he's going to set about Cliff Butler now. Cliff's been building up a lead. Look at the gap he's pulled out already.
Tremendous.
There must be 10 car lengths between Folding and Proctor already. Well, a terrific drive by Folding. And you were talking earlier about drafting. Of course, one of the great things about racing like this is you don't have to rely on aerodynamic aids so much these days in something like this, and you don't get that turbulence behind a car. You can really slipstream, just like old-fashioned racing.
Absolutely right, and that's what I think provides Eurocar spectacle. It is all about overtaking. It's all about driver ability. No trick aids on these cars, no ABS. They're not allowed any trick gadgetry at all. It's a straightforward rear-wheel drive car. They use 4-speed boxes, most of them, and generally only one gear change at all throughout. They'll tend to stay in third or fourth most of the way around the 1 mile circuit that is here at Mallory Park in Leicestershire. And Folding now is starting to edge up onto the rear bumper of Cliff Butler. Over half distance completed of the 20 laps, and this is where Folding may just try to make his move on Butler. can't quite get it there. He's taken the wide outside line. He needs to watch that inside line, because if he's not careful, Mark Proctor will just dive up the inside there and snatch that place away from him. But this is where all of the interest is, and where it's developing. And are we going to see a new leader? An absolute tremendous piece of driving there. Butler holds him off though, side by side around Gerrards. You can see this. It is a tremendous piece of driving by Butler on the inside, but even more so, very heroic stuff from Peter Faulding. But that's allowed Mark Proctor to inch up onto the rear bumper, and this time Faulding goes to the outside.
Absolutely. Well, Cliff Butler wasn't going to give way there, was he? And he's going to try it again. He's going to go around the outside. Now, would he switch to an inside line? Oh, lock up the brakes, back in out of shape there. Oh, dear, oh dear, oh dear. Mark Proctor being allowed, should I say, to come up on the rear bumper of both these cars. He's going to go for it again, and Butler is going to have none of it. No, 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 he says. I've got the racing line, you are not coming around here.
Well, you won't see many other forms of motorsport where you go around the outside for over a lap, and that's what's just happened here at Mallory. Tremendous entertainment, but Mark Proctor trying to sneak up the advantage. Across the line they go to complete another lap. Faulding this time might just have it. Is he on the outside enough? Well, perhaps not, because Butler's still driving on to that inside line, but I think he's going to do it this time. He looks to have just got a half a car length ahead, and that looks as though Faulding will take the lead. Yes, he does. So after 3 hard charging laps from Pete Faulding, where he ran side by side with Cliff Butler, he takes the lead.
Yes, Cliff Butler thinking, well, I'd rather not lose my car, thanks very much. I can always challenge you next lap. You go through, I'll stick on your tail. But of course, Mark Proctor is saying, I can see a chance to get past now, and he is. He's going to try and go up the inside. Is he going to try and outbrake him? He is. He's going to. What a fantastic overtaking maneuver. Oh,
I wouldn't count your chickens there.
Absolutely.
He's fought back admirably there on the outside. Great bit of driving there from Cliff. But the looks in his mirror, did you see? As almost to say, Proctor, you'll have to try harder than that if you're going to get past me. But Mark Proctor will give it another go. Now, this really does throw things open as far as the point scoring is concerned, because, of course, if Faulding can stay there and can keep Proctor behind him, they'll both be on equal points, and we'd have a joint winner announced for this opening round of the championship. And I think that just underlines in great detail how competitive a series this is. But Proctor might do it this time. He's got the inside line, a bit of bumping and boring. Cliff Butler fighting manfully with the steering wheel there to keep it pointing in the right direction, but despite all that bravado, he's going to lose out to Proctor. Proctor just decides to put a couple of more centimetres between the two, but he's through into second place, and all of that started at turn 1 and only completed by the time they'd gone round at turn 3.
As I think Cliff Butler was very lucky at turn 1 and 2, actually not to be pushed out. It was very close there. Mark Proctor going up the inside and getting a little bit of a nudge, and you can see a bit of a wobble on Cliff Butler's car there. He did very well to hold it, but as you say, Paul, discretion, better part of valour in these races. Of course, you want to get to the next one with the minimum amount of rebuild costs for your car.
And that next one only 6 days away for these drivers, the next round at Brands Hatch, but they'll look forward to completing this day first of all. 17 laps of the 20 completed, so we're into that final countdown as the battles throughout the field go through. There is Peter Faulding coming out of turn 4, that long sweeping left-hander as it is for these V6 drivers, back onto the main stretch, and he really does look very comfortable there, doesn't he? But I wouldn't, if I were him, get too comfy out there out front, because Mark Proctor is just inching closer and closer towards him. A steady drive there in 4th place by Shane Bland, who is saying to me this morning, David, that he was looking just to get a solid point score here today and be consistent. And what a remarkable comeback by that man minus his door.
I was just thinking that. Paul Sheard has come right up through the field, and he never gives up, does he? Never ever gives up.
Yeah, that door well and truly sheared off in every sense of the word.
And he's weaving about, looking for the way past, hoping to fight his way further and further up the order, of course.
Yes, this is the battle for 6th and 7th, and further down the order, here is well, it's back to that 6th and 7th place battle again. Tony Paxman at the moment being swarmed all over by Paul Sheard in the blue and orange coloured car, and Sheard might try to go around the outside. It's a really brave manoeuvre that by Sheard, and it might just work for him. It has. Well, I think that threw Tony Paxman for a moment there. Tony was concentrating on keeping his inside line, but Sheard went right way down the outside of him, and that puts him up into that 6th position. But this is the man with it all to do at the moment from the head of the field. Just got to keep stroking that car round underneath the bridge, completes another lap, starts what should be his final lap now.
Yes, it looks like the top 4 places are pretty much evened out now, and the battle is really for 6th. fifth. In fact, I think Paul Sheard's going to try and take another place before the end of the race.
I think he is closing in on John Haffey. Well, it's a tall order to do that in a lap, but we've seen Sheard drive brilliantly before. There is Tony Paxman, but here's the man of the moment, Peter Folding. Now, it's not sadly going to be enough for him to take the victory. There was yellow flags there, so no opportunity. Mike Schmidt having a terrible time. He's thrown it off in the gravel again on his return to the Eurocar V6 fold, but here comes the man of the moment. Peter Folding will take the victory, but hats off to the winner of the opening round, who will be Mark Proctor as a result of those 175 points scored for his second place. But Folding overall will take second, and Cliff Butler, from the top three in our second race, comes home